5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're old, groaning like a geezer.
It seems we are not in Metropolis anymore.
Hello. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Graybeards Studio. This is episode 114, if you can believe it. And we are doing JSA this week because you chose it. So I don't want to hear people complaining in the chat about, what about Doom Patrol? I want a Doom Patrol. Nobody vote. It's not to say nobody, but the majority of the people went for JSA, and that's what we'll be doing today. But I can't and won't do it alone. Let's bring in the crew and get ready to rock and roll here. David Williams.
Time for some juicy sweet ass.
What did you just say?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. I can't even repeat it. I was going to say, here's a guy who's always looking for a little ASS. It's Gary Martin.
Aaron,
Gary.
I find swimming a confusing sport.
Really?
Yeah, because sometimes you do it for fun, and sometimes you do it just not to die.
Okay. Does this get better?
But when I swim,
I'm
not sure which one it is.
Yeah. Okay. Let's let's see what Dan Lawless. What can Dan Lawless offer to the show? Hello. Hello, Dan. You've changed.
It's Sully.
Oh, who is this?
Sully.
I thought maybe you had turned into the Michigan Dog Man. You've heard of that, right?
No.
You have not heard. Well, actually, it's the Wisconsin Dog Man, but it's all up there in that same area, so they could cross state lines. They're kind of like werewolves, but they're dog things. So they're like dog men. It's a cryptid.
Okay, I saw another the other day someone who looked like Wolverine. There's a Wolverine guy out there.
Oh, really?
I forget where he's at though. I don't think he's Michigan.
Now, have you heard about the Pennsylvania Melonheads? You guys ever heard of those?
No.
Is that a sports team?
No, they're actually allegedly there's these kids that were like orphanage kids that were experimented on, and their heads got really big because they had like experimented on their brains and stuff, and then they escaped. They killed the guy who ran the asylum. They were not the asylum, but the orphanage they were in, getting experimented on, and they went out in the woods and became cannibals. And so now they're like in Pennsylvania in the Northeast. There's supposedly these melon heads living in the woods. So it sounds like an X-Files episode or something. But
I think you just explained like backstory of comic book villains. What's their deal? Well, they were orphanage kids that got experimented on.
Yeah, I like. You know what? You could use that. I think that's good. All right, let's see if there's any melon heads in the audience, shall we?
That goes without saying.
I'm just going to let you can decide if you consider yourself a melon head or not. I'm not going to label you. I'm just going to, Gretzky the Great is here. He's questioning whether or not he was first. As far as I'm concerned, you're first. Corum is here. It's great to have the Graybeards back. It is, because we skipped last week. I almost forgot about it. I was gone for 8 days. Well, I'm sorry, 7 days. We got back a day early. So a 7-day trip to watch my daughter graduate, right? Commencement ceremony and all that kind of stuff, and move her stuff back home. 5 of those 7 days, we were driving. And only 2 days were we actually, in Phoenix doing stuff with my daughter. It was brutal. I am not of the age that I want to be driving like that anymore.
With a car full of women.
Well, she bailed and flew home because she's like, I don't like that drive. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So it was just, Shelly and I drove there, loaded up the car, and drove back. And so then we had to get back in time to pick her up from the airport. It was just.
So what you're saying is
it gets more difficult as you go.
What you're saying with this veiled story, that it's the chance fault for not backing Wraith, that you could have afforded plane tickets instead of driving down there. So Chad, start backing Wraith so Aaron doesn't have to waste a week on a 2-day trip.
Dude, I am telling you, it was so freaking expensive. I was like, we could have gone to Mexico for a week, Puerto Vallarta, for what I just paid to drive to Phoenix and back, with the hotels and the food and the car rental,
the gas,
and the gas. Oh my gosh, we stopped on just a small section of Route 66 just for the heck of it. Yeah, $8.60 a gallon. Now, thankfully, I only had a quarter tank to fill up, so I was just like, because they didn't have the gas amount advertised anymore. So I just pulled in, started pumping the gas. I looked down and went, does that say $8.66?
You had to get closer to the number.
Yeah. So anyway, all right.
It's all those unscheduled stops, like when you get in these rural, oh, look, a fudge stand. And so you load up.
So they just trying to force everyone to get electric. Is that what's going on? I mean, these huge gas prices.
Well, I got to assume it's all taxes and stuff. And I don't live in California, but it's just got to be, because the actual normal price was between about $5.20 and $5.60, somewhere in that neighborhood. But we were so off the beaten path that it was like this.
They can charge whatever they want.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a last minute cash grab. The squeeze it before the prices go down.
Well, probably. I mean, it's hard to say, because we got back into Oregon. It was like it's still $3.30 a gallon here. In some places, $3.20, depending on where. But yeah, California was brutal, especially when we were driving. I rented a Ford. What do you call it? Expedition, whatever the really biggest rig they have, SUV.
Mm-hmm.
And so that thing was probably getting 2 miles to the gallon, so it was just, but it was smooth ride, man. It's a nice ride. All right. Enough about that. Past Master Dan is here. He says, "Cy, there better be some smoking." I don't know, do I have my fake cigarette laying around here someplace? I don't know. I used it for our European episode.
Why do we have to get a cigarette? What's going on here?
Oh, because I draw characters smoking all the time. So he's
you have an uplit from the cigarette.
Exactly what David was trying to call me out on Kings the other night and say that a cigarette doesn't provide a light source. And I said, the blunts that I'm firing up do, baby. Amanda B, I don't know what you guys think about this, but we got into this on Twitter. She said should have been Paw Patrol, not Doom Patrol, but apparently people thought the job was too big. No job is too big, no pup is too small. And Aaron, with grandkids now, you need to like this stuff. I don't think I do. I don't think I have to like it.
Quite simply, I do not.
Well, is it a boy or girl? Is it kind of a boy thing, though, if you have to have
Paw Patrol? I have no freaking idea.
It's not a granddaughter thing, is it? It's grandson thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Amanda's best name I can think of is here. N2 Paints, Pantheon, Sequential Artist. Greetings, Aaron, the Graybeards, and chat. I missed you all so much. I was getting mad at Gravity because it's bringing us all down. Holy crap. You just got me to read a crappy joke without paying me first. I'm just so disappointed in myself. Creative Phase here. What'd you say, Gary?
Using the system.
Yeah. Creative Faye, Aaron, did the long drive knock any story ideas loose? I find that happens to me on a long drive. I did come up with my next Wraith of God storyline, though. It just, when you start thinking about ideas, sometimes you open up the floodgate and it's just bam, 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 and you can't write it down fast enough.
Yep.
The melon heads.
Yeah, it's going to be Wraith of God versus the melon heads. Repairman Jack is here. Glitch all the way in he's across the pond, Randy Howell all the way from Canada. Headless Bourgeoisie. I want to see Dan Lawless take on the Golden Age Hawkman. But does Dan Lawless want to draw wings?
I think I'm gonna. Who's this fast guy? Is that Flash or?
Yeah, Dan. It's the Flash. You never heard of that?
Well, I know the Flash,
guy.
but I'm not as familiar with this. With that early version.
Yeah, the Golden Age Flash is still the Flash.
Yeah, Dan, you may have to show your comic book credentials if you don't know the Flash.
First off, I didn't collect DC. And then secondly, when I collected, he was not that. He didn't have the hat. He was always the red guy.
No, it's true. Captain Bippo Lopez is still alive. I thought he died. Didn't we do a memorial stream for him the other day? Oh my gosh, you leave for a week. And I will say this: I was not on social media or even anything for a week, and it was really, really nice and peaceful, despite the fact that I was dodging semi trucks the whole freaking way and the whole way back. I've never seen so many trucks.
I know. It's we get out there, boy. By the way, Carbon Infantino, isn't it? He was the Flash artist, right? Because that guy.
Yeah.
I remember. I didn't collect a lot of
issue.
When I collected comics, I really kind of looked at the art. I loved the art. So when I saw his art and the way he drew the Flash with all these lines behind him, I thought that was so cool. So I have a couple issues of that stuff, But yeah,
I almost bought an issue of the Flash where he gets turned super fat so he can't run.
I remember that.
Oh, it's like somebody's hitting him with a fat ray, and he's on the covers changing from regular Flash.
I think I remember that one.
Huge obese Flash. He's like, puff, puff, I can't run.
You wouldn't be allowed to do that comic book today.
No, but I collect fat superhero comics. I've got Fat Superman where he goes, I can't even, he's coming out of the phone booth, but he's stuck in it because he's so fat. And he's like, I've turned into a super fatty.
Dan, I inked Carmine on the Flash, but it was I only got to do one issue because then they fired me.
Oh,
really?
Yep.
That's it.
You're out of
There's also a Fat Lois Lane cover where she's standing on one, on one side of the building, and Superman's peeking around the corner at her, and she's looking in a mirror, going, "Oh, I hope Superman doesn't see me like this," and he's like, "Ugh."
I want to see that. I want to see that one.
Doesn't he have X-ray vision? Why does he have to peek around the corner?
Well, it was the early '60s, man. That's what.
Do you remember the name of that one or the number?
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up later in the show.
I don't know if I can even lift that.
Even I can't. Oh, you know what? Okay, well, I'll do this and okay. Lone Star Viper, Andy Dolph, Eric and Boyd, Pity Moz here. There's Squeaky. Marcus Killigrew, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge. Ink on Paper is joining us. Rand Arrington. Murdoch. Wasn't that a television show, Murdoch?
Yep. It was on CBS. It was for geezers.
Okay. Well, then, that's why. Oh, that was the one
part
with
of
Andy
the CBS geezer lineup.
Yeah, it was Andy Griffith, right? He was an old prosecuting attorney or defense attorney or DA.
He was like a Southern
Didn't
lawyer.
They have a show called Murdoch He Wrote?
Murdoch He Wrote.
Exactly.
William Wyndon would always go to his house and eat pie. I remember that. Yeah.
Yep.
Kino Reviews is here. Toxic Dust 13, Fallen Low Life. Jimmy Owens. Hey, Jimmy. Nicholas Gear is here. Nicholas is funny because he's always like, you guys should do this. And then I go, we've already done it. He's like, oh. And then he'll say, you guys should do this. And I'm like, we've already done it. And he's like, oh. So go back and check the archives, Nick. Come on, man. Best Age Comics. Cooley Cotton is here. Matthew Muma, JP Roca. Every time I see JP Roca, I think of almond roca. Did your moms ever make like almond roca like at Christmas and stuff?
They wouldn't make it, but we'd buy it.
My mom made it.
Damn.
Yeah.
She was Mrs. C's before Mrs. C's.
She was like, and I say was because she's still with us, but she's not like, she used to can like fruit and stuff all the time, and just like totally old school mom back in the day. She doesn't can stuff anymore though. She just takes from me, and
As she should.
I'm just kidding.
Well, it's, you know,
Isn't she your hard laborer though? She's your.
She is. Yeah, and that's kind of
payback is a mother.
Aaron, I would pay you money if you got her on the stream just to say that.
I don't know if she'd say that, but she might think it. Phil Diaz is here. Hey, Phil, leg kick, because leg kick is almost always here. Sean Allen. Oh, look at David Brohawk Williams says Call of Booty. I don't know why you're associating JSA with booty call, but you are. There must be something behind that. Pardon the pun.
I thought JSA stood for Juicy Sweet Ass.
Gary, were you aware of that?
Maybe it does.
Yeah, it might be in some places. Gemini Dragon.
David, you're laying down the knowledge to white folk.
There you go.
This is, us suburbanite white guys, we just have had no experience with any other culture. So you are here.
That's the name of the League of Hoes that Gary has. The JSA.
The League of Hoes.
He said, "Look, bitches, y'all are going to be my JSA."
And the corners that we hang out in, they know what we're talking about.
Oh my gosh, good to be back. Tarks9 is here. Michelle Bowers, Gemini Dragon. Did I say that already? I don't think I did. Well, let's see. Pitty Moss says she lives in PA, Pennsylvania, so she's going to check out the Melonheads and see if it's true. We want to report back next week.
Yes, we want a full report on the Melonheads.
Oh, let's see. Sean Allen's here. Let's see. I think everybody's just kind of, now they're talking. I've got to get caught up. They're still complaining about gas prices, and we're talking about Gary's horrors now.
Isn't there a group called it's not the Melonheads, the Lemonheads, right? I'm trying to think.
Like a group or something?
Yeah, a group,
like a
kind of
a musical group.
Musical group, yeah, music like alternative.
It was Lemonade Mouth, I think. Wasn't that from one of the Disney shows? I don't remember. My daughter used to watch
there
that.
was the Lemonheads. Yeah.
Was there? Okay.
Wasn't there a punk rock group? Was it a punk?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's a little too edgy for me. Dave Ulbrich is here. He says, I'm not here, but we know that you are, Dave. Dave, of course, the publisher of the Ultraverse back in the day when Gary and I were just young lads. And David actually did some Malibu stuff as well.
That's right.
Yeah, 1986. That's when I was in art school, and that's all that punk stuff.
So you were reading Malibu comics while we were doing Malibu?
No, I'm talking about the Lemonheads. I'm sorry, I'm talking about the Lemonheads.
Oh,
You're still on that.
Dan, we've moved on from that.
I'm sorry, I got distracted because I'm looking at I'm not listening as I'm listening.
You're still talking about Lemonheads.
Well, I was curious, like what
that was 30 minutes ago, Dan.
Look, I only got so much focal power. Like I have to turn you guys off, and then and I focus on the thing I'm working on.
Turns off. You turn off the sound and just kind of do what you want to do.
You guys get dialed down, and then.
Geekview Tavern is also Dave Ulbrich's YouTube channel. Check it out. It's actually quite good, and it's very professional. So unlike this show. Exactly.
So that's how you compare. That's how you know what's mediocre. You don't know it's mediocre until you see something professional, and you go,
"Yeah, that's right." You're like, "Why are we watching this crap?" Tim F is here. Merilith 2005. We need a non-Gaiman Sandman. Was Sandman in the JS? I guess he was, right? Just like practically everybody at some point was in the JSA. Kino Reviews, Rocky Macabre, Wizard Sleeves. Gary's favorite is here.
Wizard Sleeves.
Let's see who else we got here. I'm just going through this, guys, because I'm taking so long. John Smith, how was the road trip, Aaron? I think I've
yeah, you covered that one.
Covered that one pretty well. Hey, Stealth X5 for $2. Thank you, Stealth. He says hello to all of us. I assume he's saying it to all of us.
Thank you.
If it was Katie did, I would assume it was everybody but me. But with Stealth, I assume it's just everybody.
Stealth means it to everybody. Yeah.
Yes. Darren Wagner says, do you guys prefer the World War II JSA or the modern one made up the first one's ancestors? Oh, the original for me. Classic all the way.
Yes.
Classic all the way.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay, I think we've got everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry, but I'm glad you're here regardless. So Skullnasher says a couple of different Sandman have been in the JSA. All right. So
before we could you pull up my screen? I wanted to share a collectible that I just purchased. It's mint on the card. Oh no, he escaped.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dang it. He's around here somewhere.
I love it.
Didn't Houdini say he was going to rise from the dead, and like he had people like waiting for him, and of course he never did. But that was a thing, actually.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
David, you got any show and tell you'd like to share with us?
I do. Go check your. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh! I was just like, oh, look at that! Look at this.
So I'm working on the commissions that I owe a lot of people. I'm trying to get them all done, and I'm painting most of them, and pencils, and then I transfer it. And I'm doing this on the back of when you have your art pads, your 11 by 17.
You told me to save those.
Save those and just paint on them.
Yeah, nice.
Wow.
Nice board.
Huh,
so how did you wait a minute? How did you transfer that onto the board then? You obviously didn't light table it. Did you do like the old-fashioned way of rubbing pencil on the back of the drawing?
No. You get the carbon paper.
Oh, of course.
What kind of paint are you using here?
Gouache.
Yeah, that'll work.
And so this is.
Does it buckle at all though? Does it buckle the board?
Heck no, not at all. That's why I like it so much.
Mm.
Well, it depends on if you use it more watery, right? I mean, you could.
Look at that face. I love that face he drew.
Oh, that's a great face.
Yeah. I know. It's not nice.
It's funny when you use gouache. It's like you get that. It sort of you can see why all that '60s advertising looked the way it does, because it sort of doesn't blend as much as you'd think, and it goes down flat, and it just looks like it. That piece there looks like something from old advertising days. Huh?
Yeah.
And then I got this stuff. This stuff is I did on the show. It's for sale.
Yep.
These Batman and Robin. And I have an auction piece that that I did of Rune that I owe to somebody, but
cool.
I forgot who I owed it to.
You're gonna have 30 people say it was them.
Yeah.
Exactly,
if you guys bought this, if someone bought this Rune piece from David at one of the auctions, please contact him. He forgot.
David, I bought that. Send it to me.
Oh, okay. I'll get it right out.
I love. By the way, I can really see in your signature. I love your signature. You can really see it on that piece. It's great.
Oh.
I remember you working on this piece, but it didn't look like that when the show was over. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, it was just pencils. But like I said, this stuff is available if you want to reach out to me.
And two great pieces, man. Wow.
And I dug up some other things. I wanted to, like, when Superman becomes public domain, I wanted to do a Superman story. I love Superman. And I found some like little sketches I was doing while I was probably on the phone with Gary or Aaron or whoever. And I was like, oh man, I would think I would try to redesign it a little. I was thinking of him being in the circus and he's like lifting an elephant, and this is like his first suit. But you find out that he got his first suit from the strongman whose name is Solomon, and you find out that the strongman was Solomon Grundy before he becomes Solomon Grundy, and you find out everybody in the circus was somebody from the DCU before they become whoever they are.
That's
so,
cool,
so
man.
this was like one of his first jobs he wanders the states, the United States, just to find himself. Jor-El tells him, hey, go find yourself, and see the world. And, he goes out not as Clark, but he goes out as Kal-El.
Yeah, as a carnival, working in a carnival, he would see the world kind of, or some of it anyways.
So,
this
is just me
those are
doodling
all
on
great.
the phone when I'm talking to my buds.
Man, those are all
I want to show you something
all stellar, man.
Cooler than any
Wait a second, hang on. Headless Bourgeoisie says, David, please do a public domain Superman comic.
I plan to. I have a Batman one too. I did a Legends of the Dark Knight story that didn't get published, so I want to draw that. I just want to get it out of my system.
You could do a public domain.
As long as you don't charge money for them, you can just put them up on the internet. And
you
can't stop.
So this is by my grandson, and he loves
How old is he?
Superheroes. He's 8 years old.
Oh, look at him go.
But he did these I think a year or two ago. But these are awesome.
That is great.
Yeah.
Love the superheroes.
Yeah.
Wait, are these yours, David? Or yeah.
They're mine now.
This is new style.
I'm just saying, David. You got a little work to get here.
See, Dan, and even he knows what 8 years old, and he knows who the Flash is.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, I would have guessed the Flash. I was just confirming it. I didn't read that comic character.
So I asked him today. I said, "So, who's your favorite, Marvel or DC?" And he goes, "I like them both." I said, "But if you had to pick one," he said, he chose Marvel. And I said, "You're not my grandson anymore."
Oh,
no, I'm kidding.
I don't think, David. I don't think that'll hold up in court.
Yeah, John. John without an H says that those drawings, that's David's Frank Miller era.
Yeah. Try to blame someone else.
You're a little better than Frank's for now. But
that is some fabulous stuff, David. Thank you. I love those Superman drawings too.
Me too. Those are awesome.
Were great, man. It was awesome.
All right, so Gary, let's see what you've got for us here.
I have several pieces to share. I put this up on Twitter and got a lot of comments, so I thought I'd share it. Every once in a while, I'll get commission requests to do watercolor, and there's a little bit of line work in here, ink, but it's, I would say, 95% watercolor. And this is a recreation of a Duncan.
That looks like marker. How'd you make
I was going to say it looks like marker.
No, it's watercolor and brush.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Just doing layers. Duncan.
What kind of paper?
Hellboy.
Fregredo.
Okay. See, I didn't know how to pronounce it. I knew David would correct me. What else?
What kind of paper?
So you took one of his pieces and painted it, basically.
Yeah.
Very nice. Look at that.
Yeah, it looks great.
Should be a colorist, Gary. Make a little extra money.
Well, coloring's hard.
I know it is. It takes time. I don't know how those guys burn through it.
I don't either. Dan, I don't know how you do it. Let's see. So I got a few recreation pieces.
Wow.
This is a Nick Cardy.
Yeah.
From way back. But I just love that concept.
Oh, great.
But even Superman is afraid of the dentist. And the nurse is like, yeah.
That has to be Zod pulling his tooth.
It's like, who was making those editorial decisions at DC? They're like, yeah, that's a great cover. Let's do that.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think it is a great cover, but
yeah,
I think back then they didn't know.
Yeah,
what
but not
was
if you were a kid buying it on the newsstand, you would like go, oh, let's see what Marvel has because this is stupid.
That's why I didn't buy DC's because they just their covers were goofy.
Man, you did
What else we got?
perfect.
This is a Bachello death
Bocello.
recreation. This was
Bocello.
also a commission.
Is it Bocello or Bocello?
It's Bocello,
Bocello.
as far as I know.
I don't know.
Botulism.
Yeah.
Botulism, that's it. Oh, that's
Yep.
not
Ooh,
that.
Bocello.
That's cool.
Bocello looked like an older piece. Did it? Was it? That
Yeah.
Lady Death,
This
was that an
is,
older Bocello version? Like, because he says
Yeah,
this
we
is
moved
stuff looks
on,
modern
man.
now.
We moved on.
God darn it.
Catch
This
up.
is Lee Elias and the old days where you could get away with stuff like this on a cover. And what I like is like, it's not just his face is exploding, but there's like little screws and
Yeah.
gears coming out of his face too.
I love the girl's reaction. It's like, oh my gosh, what do I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
myself
this,
into?
yeah, like she even needs to be there. It's just she's telling us that this is.
Now, who originally did this?
Pardon?
Who originally did this?
Lee Elias.
Lee Elias.
Because the ink work looks like Frank Robbins.
Kinda, yeah. Yeah.
I like the
But
hair.
this is older, you know, when comics were 10 cents. Aaron, you
Yeah.
remember the era?
Yeah, barely. Yeah, no, I don't remember. I wasn't around. I love what you did with the hair, though. This is so not you.
Yeah,
The way
I know.
you did that.
That looks like
Twisted
Joe
Coast
Sinnott or
with
something.
Shapes and stuff.
Right.
Really cool.
But those guys, yeah, those guys were not afraid of the brush.
You know, I love about this cover that she you can't only see one side of her face. That's kind of neat. That's bold. That's a bold move, you know.
Sean Allen says, "Is Dan a stoner?"
No,
Okay.
I'm just dumb.
He doesn't need drugs to help him along.
Yeah, if I had drugs, oh man, that'd be bad.
All right, this is a Kaluta piece.
This is a Kaluta recreation commission. Kaluta, he's hard to recreate.
Yeah,
he's kind of has his
imagine.
own way of doing things. I can't relate to him by saying, oh, you know, he's like this guy or he's like that guy. He's unique.
Well, his stuff is so wispy and it is really, really unique to him.
It's linear, very linear.
Pretty good job here.
2 more pieces. I shared this on
Yeah, I still like this
on Twitter.
Who is this again?
Asked on the post of who the penciler was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read a
guessing,
list
right?
of, pardon?
We were guessing, weren't we? Trying to figure out who it was?
Yeah, who the penciler was, and you could see his initials down there. So I don't, some of these guesses are kind of off the wall, but they're serious. So I'm just going to read down the list. They're in no particular order.
Okay.
Somebody guessed Mark Wade.
Well, it's WM, so it's like reversed.
Yeah. Bruce Timm, Chris Sprouse, Neil Adams, Art Adams, Walt Simonson, Mike Waringo, Steve Rude, Alan Davis, Mike Mignola, George Perez.
None of those people.
No, not even close to any of them. None of those people are even close. It's Herbert Hahn Michael.
Never heard of
they
him.
were out of all the guesses, I think there were 2 or 3 that guessed correctly.
Oh, okay.
And then lastly, I posted this also on X, and I asked the question, who would win? And of course, the correct answer is no one would win. These are fictional characters.
Well, that's no fun.
Thank you, Gary.
Who would
I
win?
don't think.
What does everyone
people will
think would
approve
win?
of that Batman salute.
It was overwhelmingly Batman.
Okay. Yeah, well, Batman would figure out a way. That's why.
Yeah, see, Dan, you missed my point.
Dan is high right now. He's a stoner. So you just gotta. All right.
I didn't. That one went over me. Okay. This actually is from another drawing show that we did, the Comics Gate Kings, and so I'm a trader, obviously, you guys. So
Well, I participated in the same show.
I know.
Hey,
This,
Both are
Dan, this is
traders.
very Sterenko looking to me.
I
Yeah,
can
do you
see
know
that.
when Ethan said, "Let's draw the Joker," and I had this idea. I thought, what if I draw him and you can't see his teeth? You know, like I thought, kind of covering up and just so you see the smile. And that was the sort of my solution to it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I like
And I
it.
thought, would that be interesting? I thought, would it be more creepy if you can't quite see his teeth, or what's behind his hand, and the smile is there, or do you got to see the smile? I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Some people like it, and some people don't.
I would assume that's the Joker, even without seeing his face.
Yeah.
In black
Okay.
and white. Just because
Yeah,
the wild.
but is it more
craziness.
effective? Do you think it's more like,
Well, you could tell this
creepy?
dude's evil because he's aiming for somebody's crotch.
Well, Dan, here's the thing. It's unique in the sense that when do you ever draw the Joker without showing his smile? And you've done it here
Right.
and still sold it as the Joker. So I find it interesting and unique to take that approach, and I think it works.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I wanted to do something a little different, and and I think it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. This is a very cool piece.
This is deep, says Genix Catholic. Well, dude, if a Joker smiles behind his arm, is he really smiling?
Is it
That's
really
right.
smiling? Yeah.
Tree falls in the forest, right?
Right, that sort of thing.
Don't look at me. I'm not smiling.
Well, maybe he's just tired of smiling. And I'm going to fake it.
No, I love it.
He's covering the spinach in his teeth.
He's embarrassed. He's ashamed.
I kind of wanted to put like a bang, flag, but the perspective was too forced, But it would have been kind of cool,
Yeah, you'd have to move him over to the left.
Yeah, that was the problem too. If I had drawn it initially, and I could have squeezed it in, perhaps, which would have been cool. I think it would have been a lot of fun.
Revolver?
That is just made up. I'm like, because I figured Joker kind of, he's had some weird guns and stuff. I thought, I'll just make one up. So.
Hey,
That's
Rob
true.
Liefeld made a career out of it. So
That's true. Joker had a lot of, cartoon or prank looking guns.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought I think I can just wing it.
no, it totally works. Excellent, Dan.
Cool.
Excellent work. Thank you so much.
Green laser. Gary says it doesn't matter.
Because the Joker is a fictional character. None of this matters. Let's just cancel the show. Why even
That's
do
right.
it? People are all fake.
None of it matters. Everybody's wasting their time watching this show.
All right.
Yeah,
Hey,
Well, we could all be AI. They wouldn't know.
now I've been gone, as I said, for a week or more, so I don't even know what I've shown. But did I show you guys this whole piece?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I love it. It's awesome, man.
I was
It looks
doing.
like a raging hard penis.
Pardon me. What now?
Oh yeah, I just, like,
David?
hang on a second.
What was that?
While David Williams is sleeping, I'm up
Rewind the tape.
doing the work. My God. Oh,
Veins all popping.
Yeah, there's a Hulk in there.
Unsqueeze.
Yeah, what's that noise? That's the Hulk in there crushing that toilet.
oh my gosh. All right. Well, enough of that.
You can't even show anything. Let's face it.
Yeah. What was there? There was
David's in
something-
rare form today. I think he drank the laughing juice or something here.
He did. Okay. So I colored this. Remember this from,
Yes,
I think that was our last show, wasn't it?
I think so.
So there
I
we go.
can't say anything rude about this. This is great.
Thank you. Well, at least one of them worked out. David gave me the okay on.
Put in a pile. David proof.
Yeah, and just where's the someone just bought this from me, but it's from oh, there it is. That's the Joker I did on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I wanted
Now
to
that's
see
a
this.
revolver.
Hold on a
Yeah,
second.
that is-
175?
No.
I would have paid that much for that.
That's not the correct price. I just put it in there for safekeeping.
Okay.
I sold
I
my
think this
Joker
is-
already too.
yeah.
By the way,
I really, really like that Joker, Aaron.
Thank you very much.
There's so much about it that I like.
Thank you.
it's fantastic. It really
And
is.
that gun is sort of
It's all in
accurate.
the hair.
It's a little
It's all
big,
in the
but-
hair.
Yeah.
And Gary, I don't know if you watched it, but Aaron ran away with a vote.
Yeah, I didn't see it live. I watched it the next day, and so I was able to skip ahead, and it's like, wow, not even close.
I would like to also point out that I've only done, since the Comicsgate Kings has turned into a draw stream that competes with this one, let's be honest. I've only been on it 3 times, and I've won all 3 times. I'm just saying.
And
Really?
I won.
Just saying. Now, I've also been working on some stuff. This is, I don't even know who this is going to be, but I thought the figure turned out pretty good. So I'm going
Yeah,
to
it's
turn
very
it into something.
Yeah, I like that.
One.
That or not?
Wow. Yeah, see, it's only downhill from there. I mean, it's
Yeah, I
Talk
can make
about
it
a
anybody,
face.
right?
yes.
Make it Phoenix because you were just in Phoenix.
There you go. That makes sense. Okay, so I also did this. Little
That's
Judge
red?
Dredd.
Ooh.
I kind of want to paint this, and I think I'm going to, although this paper is really thin, so I may have to glue it onto a stronger piece of paper or a board so it doesn't buckle up on me. But
Yeah.
I'm going to put some acrylics on this and see what happens.
Have we ever had a paint stream? Like, you guys ever paint?
No, I would be too, well, actually, we used to paint on the show a lot.
What are you talking about? Yes, we have. We've
Well, yeah,
painted
you're
on
right, because Kelsey would always push us. We would paint on air, but that's when the show was longer.
Yeah.
This is going to be Poison Ivy.
That's
beautiful.
a really, really nice face.
Thank you. So yeah,
That
well,
feels
you
like
guys,
a 70s album cover.
yeah.
I could see multiple layers of pencil there. So you didn't just dash that out. You
He worked it.
put down and you took away, and you put down and you took away.
Yeah,
And so you had this.
I wanted to get that face right.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So,
Yeah.
but anyway, well, you guys were asleep.
It
This
almost
is what
like
I
it-
do late at night.
You know, it'd be cool, Aaron, is to almost finish that with a mocha, kind of finish.
You mean
No,
mocha?
that's-
Mocha.
Mocha, yeah.
I'm
Well,
like,
I
okay,
would-
so he's going to drink while he's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dan. Mocha's a
Finish it
drink.
with a cup of coffee, and that'll work.
Get a little mocha and
Yeah, see, Dan, you
Mocha.
drink.
Alphonsus mocha.
Dan, you drink mocha when you're reading a Flash comic.
Yeah. Wait, it's I think I got it right. It's Alphonsi mocha.
Alfonsi mocha. All right, now because you demanded it, Dan, there it is.
Oh,
That's Fat Lois Lane.
Oh, cool. See, he is looking through.
I know he's peeking around the corner. She says, what I'd give to be the slim Lois Lane I used to be, like the reflection in this trick mirror. If Superman ever saw me now, I'd die. Featuring Lois Lane as the fattest girl in Metropolis.
oh my
Well,
God.
Damn.
if he can see her, how come she can't see him?
Well, she's so focused on her reflection in the mirror that
Oh,
not
typical
paying-
woman.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying, Aaron?
that's exactly what I'm saying. Look at what's Superman doing in the Hall of Mirrors, peeking
Yeah.
in on
Yeah.
Lois.
He looks a little pervy, doesn't he?
lurking, peeking at women. Right?
Can't he see through that?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
he's,
to him, the Hall of Mirrors is the fun house.
that's right.
This
If
is
she's
also
the
part
fattest-
of
If she's
before
the
Superman.
fattest in Metropolis, everybody has to be super fit.
Yeah, that's not really that fat.
No, not by
Yeah.
today's standards.
Exactly. Have you seen them Antifa bitch? I mean, excuse me, women?
What?
Nothing.
I don't condone any of this sort of. But I will share this. This is another classic
Wait, that's mine.
back cover, courtesy of DC
Just
Comics.
shared mine. Okay.
There we go.
Oh, that's
There
fun.
it is.
That's cool.
What's happening to me? I'm becoming so fat, I can hardly run. Now, You know, the Flash, when the Flash got his regular series in the Silver Age, it started off at 105 in like 1958-ish, 57-ish. So this is actually like the issue 10 of the Flash. This is like 1960.
I like it because there's representation. Everyone's represented. I'm the guy in the middle, and
Gary's the regular
Gary's
Flash.
the first guy.
Who's the fat Flash though? That's the
Oh, we need somebody. Yeah.
yeah.
So Aaron, your Lois Lane is actually Lois Lane Bryant.
Lois Lane Bryant. Did I miss the joke? I probably did.
The women in the chat know what I'm talking.
That's a weight loss thing, isn't it?
No, it's plus size women's clothes.
Oh, okay.
Lane Bryant. Right,
You're
Lane
okay.
Bryant. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Headless Bourgeoisie says Lizzo Lane.
There you go. That's the best one.
Anyway, so yeah, DC would do like characters with big heads, and then they did like fat characters. And I do have the Superman fat cover, so I got to get these other two so I can have the fat trifecta. So they're on my agenda. All right, gentlemen, let's consider drawing here, as it's kind of the main juxt of the show. David, who are you going to be drawing today?
Maybe Captain Marvel, Shazam. Captain Marvel.
Okay.
Cool.
Dan, what are you thinking?
That guy with the lightning bolt and the hat. Like,
Johnny Quick.
The Flash? You mean the Flash?
Mocha Man.
yeah, is that his
Johnny
name?
Quick.
Is that his name?
Johnny Quick.
Johnny Quick.
Now, you know, the Flash came out in 1941, if I'm not mistaken, in All Flash Comics #1. Why did they create Johnny Quick after they already had the Flash? Doesn't make any sense to me.
I think I'm going to draw the Wizard.
That would be Marvel, man. You're so the Wizard.
Yeah,
You know,
isn't that a
he had
character?
yellow costume too.
Was that another speedster character? I think it was.
Yeah, it was. It was Marvel, part of the Invaders or whatever they called him back then. But yeah, he had a yellow costume and he was called the Wizard.
Yeah,
When you
he
gotta go. You gotta go.
Yeah, the
And
stories
he had a
were pretty-
yellow suit.
Yep.
Yeah, the stories were very
What did you
very
expect?
repetitive. All he did was run around and mark his territory.
He's like a dog. Folks, I'm drawing the Spectre. I know it's probably a huge shock to everybody, but
Didn't you do him already?
Why?
I haven't drawn the Spectre yet. No, my dog's losing his mind. I have not drawn the Spectre because I do not have. I have no record of me drawing the Spectre. I drew
No
Dead
record.
Man, I think. May have drew Dead Man.
Sounds
Yeah,
very
I don't
mystic.
recall
I
you
have
doing
no
this.
Please
recollection.
forgive my dog's annoying.
Yeah, not everybody's got a good dog like mine. Which I'm only, by the way, I'm only dog sitting that dog. It's not my dog.
Do you get paid to dog sit, or people just take advantage of you?
I get paid, but it's just it's
Ooh.
really there's just two. I think we got two dogs. We used to dog sit, like the kids. It was sort of the alternative for getting a dog, which worked out really well because it's like they come in, you spoil them, and then they're gone, and
Yeah,
they pay you,
Yeah,
So-
Or you
everybody
ruin
wins.
their training and then give
Yeah,
them
exactly. I was always like giving them treats and stuff. And, it was pretty funny.
feeding them while you're at the table and letting them sit on the
Oh,
top.
I had them break all the rules. It was like, and they loved it, man. When the dogs, like there was one that we watched down the street, and he would just say, "Go to Dan's," and that dog would bolt down the street and stand at my front doorstep. She loved being here because, of course, I spoiled her. But let me set my camera up.
I'm starting, so yeah. Don't hate me because
You're trying to get a jump on everybody.
I think I might do Our Man because I think I did Shazam already. Captain Marvel.
you probably have. But I did an Hour Man commission. The guy wanted Hour Man and Harley Quinn together, which I thought was an interesting combination.
We're getting all kinds of suggestions, of course. Chris says, Dan, draw Wildcat.
I never liked Wildcat. I thought he was stupid.
Henry Jeremek says Sandman. Our Man.
The Sandman with the gas mask. That's
Our Man, Dr. Fate.
Yeah.
So we're getting lots of suggestions if you're on the fence.
All right, we were having an interesting conversation. Dan, it's funny because Dan always catches us, like before the show goes on, we're having these interesting conversations. He's like, save it for the show, save it for the show. And we were talking about art dealers. We're not going to call anybody out or anything, but we were talking about art dealers. And we were
unnamed.
But
his initials are.
No, but the interesting thing about art dealers from our perspective is what we would charge for, say, an original piece of artwork, and then we'd sell it to a dealer, and then what they might charge or try to get out of it for the same piece, and they're generally not the same.
No.
Now,
we see that's artists charge what they think they can get. I think dealers charge what they hope they can get.
Exactly. That's I always kind of balked at the idea that like a dealer they would try and rep me, and they'd always say, "Oh, man, I can get so much more money for your art," and I'd be like, "I don't think you can, because I know what based on sales history and things like that, I know what people are willing to pay." And when you get to that point where they're like, "Yeah, no thanks," and you're kind of like, "Okay." So, but
yeah, through many years of trial and error, mostly error, we figured out what our market worth is.
Right, and it always comes down to how badly you need the money. I mean, it always comes down to that. And for me, it's always very bad.
True. That's the major factor in setting our prices, is how much do we need the money.
And here's the little clue.
I got that credit card bill coming up.
It's like I wouldn't be selling it if I didn't need the money.
Right. Otherwise, you keep it. Scott Christie Jones, hey Scott, says, "Hello, lads."
Having trouble with my camera. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, you're frozen.
You're frozen in time, Dan.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna leave and come back in, guys, because see if that works.
Okay.
Let me back. Please.
Lester says dealers have a set price because they can sit on inventory. We are trying to eat.
Yes. Well, but ultimately they're trying to sell stuff so they can eat. But it is interesting to me when I see some of the prices, because and I mean, we are kind of responsible for setting our own market. But like, if we had from the very beginning, if you go out as an artist and you say, you know what, I'm not concerned about selling these, so I'm going to put a real high price tag on these. And then maybe eventually you get to a point where people just get used to that and they start paying it. But if you're desperate for cash all the time, like, say, I don't know, me,
artists,
then it's like you don't have time to wait to do that. It's like you got to find that sweet spot where you can move stuff.
Yep.
But even then, it comes down to what you draw as well.
Yeah. Randy House says corn dogs ain't free.
Well, I mean, I got tons of amethyst pages, and they're really nice pages, but there's like 20 people that care about amethyst. And maybe one of them is actually an original art collector. So you can't get away from that. The reality of what you work on really helps dictate.
That's huge. Yeah. I used to go around Artist Alley, what artists that I like and couldn't afford. And I would just ask them, do you have any dialogue pages? Because, you want to get Garcia Lopez, a page of a couple of people standing around talking is still, gorgeous.
Right. Well, I've always found it kind of interesting that people gravitate towards splash pages. And, you know, every once in a while there's a splash page like it's super memorable and you wouldn't mind having it. But I really like a good storytelling page. I mean, you want the characters to be on it, of course, but like I would rather have like
lots of stuff going on.
yeah, like if you got like for example, if you took say FF112, that's the Hulk versus Thing comic with the black cover, you know, Buscema did it. There's some great panel pages in there where they're just duking it out.
Right.
You know, there's different angles and different, you know, close-ups and that type of thing. I'd much rather have a page like that than maybe just a splash page with 2 characters on it, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Gemini Dragon is asking, do you charge more with more characters? Example, Metal Men.
Are you talking about like pages?
Like for a commission?
For a commission, yes. For a page, not necessarily, no.
No, right.
I think we all sort of judge on, and this is also can be a problem, is if you are judging for yourself, like, oh, I think this page is really cool, so I'm going to charge more for it. You know, that's like a personal taste thing. Or you got a page that maybe someone else thinks is really cool, but you're like, nah, I don't like the way this guy's hand came out or whatever. So you don't charge as much for it. When, you know, I mean, I do that all
You remember, yeah, you remember the circumstances. I was in a fight with my wife when I was drawing this. So
that's right. I just want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that happens a lot, and so I don't think we're always necessarily the best judge of what, you know, what's a good page.
Right, because yeah, artists have a lot of factors involved in when we calculate the price of something.
Yeah, and it always comes down to how much you personally like that page and whether you want to get rid of it or not.
Right, right.
And I've sold way too many pages that I wasn't happy about for whatever reason. That were good pages, but it's just like, I don't like this one, and so you put a cut rate price on it, and someone ends up with a steal, and then 2 years later they're charging twice as much for the pages.
And a lot of times I'll charge more for a page that is less commercial, but I like it more for whatever reason.
Yeah, because you don't really want to part with it. So if you're going to part with it, you want it to be as pain-free as possible, and that's by getting as much as you can for it.
Right. Headless Bourgeoisie says, "Hey, I care about Original Amethyst.
Well,
not the new 52 mess.
Oh,
though your art was nice, Aaron."
Oh, thank you very much.
And back to Gemini is saying for a commission. Yes, definitely for commission. More characters equals more money, because it's about
and backgrounds.
It's a time and effort thing.
Yeah, and backgrounds.
Actually, I've got a prime example of it. Let me see if I can find. I think I've got one copy of it left. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
Where do you go?
I've gone to a flat file to find
to get some artwork.
Commission that I did that's along those lines.
Okay.
If I can
find it. For commissions, I set my prices all based on how long I think it takes me. So obviously more characters equals more money. But if I'm doing, I don't know about you, Dan or David, if you're doing like a certain style, like if I'm doing an illustrative style, I know lots of cross-hatching, I will charge more, even if it's just one character.
I don't. Well, here's the thing: when I do commissions, I kind of just wing it, and I kind of like, is it a really good piece? As if it's not such a good piece, more like that. Like if it's.
So what? Going into it, you don't have a price in mind?
Not really. I mean, because especially what I'm selling mostly is these drawings that we do on these shows and stuff. So
what about someone who pays you to do a character? How do you set your price?
Oh, I might have a set price for that somewhat, but for the drawings, not so much, because it's like that last one, the Joker. I mean, it's sold immediately, practically,
Yeah.
So,
Glitch is asking says, I wonder if Aaron would do a chicks commission. Glitch, you ought to know Aaron by now. If you just, tell him how much you're willing to pay, you know what I mean?
I've got some pages left, but they don't have chicks on them.
Headless Bourgeoisie is asking me if I own any Ernie Colon pieces. Yeah, I own a lot. I own some Amethyst stuff and some sketches that he's done for different things. And I own a stack of his Medusa chain original art from the graphic novel he did at DC.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I love that graphic novel. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to hang around his studio, and after he had finished that graphic novel and DC had returned the art, he just had it stacked up, in the corner. I was like, what are you going to do with that? He goes, oh, I'm going to throw them away. Like, what? All the artwork, every page to his graphic novel. And I don't remember how many pages that was. Yeah, I don't know, 50, 60, 70. I don't remember.
This is Ernie Colon.
Look at her. What do you mean you're going to throw them away? And he says, well, he says the idea of some greasy, going back to what we were talking about before, some greasy art dealer selling these pages online. It's like, that just doesn't sit well with me. So I'd rather throw them out than have somebody.
Wow.
I was like, yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, can I intercept them between the trip to the garbage can? He goes, yeah, sure, help yourself. And so I ended up with, I don't know, about 20 or 30 of those pages.
Wow.
And then Gary became the greasy art dealer.
Yeah, I'm the greasy dealer.
You still have them?
I sold, I think, 2 pages out of that. I still have most of those pages. And this was like the mid 80s. I still have that original art.
Do people offer you anything ever for?
No.
Well,
Okay.
sadly, Ernie Colon was not, he was not.
Yeah, he was not a fan favorite. I think he was as good a comic artist as anyone out there. He was extremely versatile. He could do anything. Mickey, I don't think she's in the chat yet. She asked on Twitter, do you know of any artists that wrote, drew, colored, and lettered a book? And I thought of Ernie. He did all those things on Medusa Chain.
Oh, he wrote Medusa Chain. Okay.
Kevin Nolan does that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And letters it. All right. I got, this isn't what I was looking for. What I was looking for is someone wanted a Justice League commission, like a double page spread size with, I don't know, there's probably 20 characters in it, and Brainiac, and not Brainiac, but Metallo, or yeah, is that it? Yeah. And it was involved. And so, yeah, that I charged more for that than say I would have if someone said, I want a Hulk versus Thing double page spread, So yeah, it does factor into it. Now, this is a copy of a piece I did at San Diego, like when I first got my booth. This is like, what was it? Yeah, 2003. So it was very early on. And I was just sitting around with nothing to do one day. And so I
drew that at the show?
On my lap. And let me go bigger here. And I ended up selling this for like $200. I would never sell this now for $200.
Yeah, right?
Wow, that's very cool, Aaron.
Man,
Thank
that's
you.
Cool.
Very cool.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I was going through my, I don't know, I'm constantly going through my Frazetta phase, but I was going through it again here. And
Yeah, it reminds me of Scout. Not the dinosaur, but the fallen tree and the barbarians.
Yeah, all those guys had somewhat influence on me at different stages, and you can see it come out depending on what the subject matter is. But I was particularly pleased with myself on this because I didn't have any reference, but I had been drawing dinosaurs so much that I could kind of pull off this Jurassic Park sort of T-Rex out of my head. But yeah, it was 11 by 17. It was this size. It turned it on its side, and it was just drawn away. And then like someone came up and how much for that? And oh, $200. It's like, what am I, an idiot? But
your stomach said $200, and you're
that's lunch and dinner for the next 3 days. If I can just, but yeah, if I did something like this now, like this size, this would be close to $1,000 probably. If I was going to do this.
Do you know where that piece is now?
No, I don't know who has it, but someone's got it.
I could see what's going on here. The storytelling is that Macho Man is thinking, he can vanquish this T-Rex with his mighty spear, and the girl is saying, "You idiot!
Yeah, I'm getting out of here."
Yeah,
you go ahead. I'll come over here. Yeah. Look at that spearhead too. It's like not even long enough to like puncture this guy's skin. Probably. Right. So this probably didn't end well for him. But,
the death of Gorg.
But I mean, I so badly want to do like a jungle comic like that. Dinosaurs and
you should.
I'm like, why are you on?
No, seriously. Use both those characters and dinosaurs. I mean, that's gold, baby.
Is it? Is it gold?
Yes. Chat, what do you think? Would you like to see Aaron do a comic with more of that? I certainly would.
Oh man, all right.
That would be awesome.
That's the only thing about this crowdfunding stuff is it takes so long to do a project. You're like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and you go, okay, I'm going to be 70 by the time I get all this.
That's 8 months out of your life.
Yeah.
What's an average time frame from?
Say finish Wraith first.
Yeah, I am. Don't worry.
Do you have a limit to Wraith? Are you gonna keep doing that, or are you gonna?
The limit is when the fans stop buying it.
Yeah, exactly. That's when it ends.
Do you have a story that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I know how it ends, but I can keep putting like different monsters in there before I get to the end. So the next issue could be the end, or I could do 3 more because I know where it's going. And it's just like, if I want to do a Frankenstein story or I want to do a Swamp Thing story, I could still do that and then, draw it out a little bit.
You're getting a lot of positive reaction. Headless says, I will hurl gold at Aaron with more of that.
Well, the funny thing is, it's a different scenario, right? When you're doing crowdfunding and you can get, say, 1,500 people or 1,000 people or whatever that say, oh yeah, I back that book, and you can do it. Whereas I go to DC and say, hey, I got this great, caveman thing. And they're like, yeah, no,
right.
We're not going to sell enough to make it worthwhile. So it is nice that we actually have the ability to do more diverse subject matter. Because we don't.
The bourgeoisie said he will hurl gold at you. I will just hurl at you.
Well, it doesn't matter what I do, you're going to do that.
Randy Howe says Aaron has jungle fever.
I do. I mean, my roots are, we always talk about rights and stuff, but Frazetta is really my first love, and that whole sort of barbarian. Dan will appreciate this.
Oh, yeah.
Barbarian and dinosaurs and, Carson of Venus and all those kind of, Edgar Rice Burroughs paperback, scenarios. That's
David, is your camera off for any reason?
Off?
Yep.
Oh, my bad. I thought I was drawn for the people this whole time.
It's like, what
people.
You
You got company over there, David?
My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's why we
thanks,
don't trust
Sean.
you.
Yeah. Sean Allen is the one that pointed it out. I was like, hey, yeah, I thought, David went to the restroom, but he's talking. So what is he doing? Speaking of David, we haven't seen what's in David's trash in a long time.
Yeah, and that's what you want to do. It's springing on him so he doesn't know.
Yep.
It's interesting. I thought about that segment, and I was like, I was looking at my trash, and I'm like, I don't want to share this.
No.
Gross stuff in there.
No.
Yeah,
I think David's looking.
He's looking to see.
He's looking.
Yeah, absolutely not.
All right. I hate to sound like Kelsey, but I'm inking already.
Wow.
Which is
What are
unusual.
you talking about? I'm painting mine already.
Oh my gosh. I had a clear vision of what I wanted to do today, and that always helps me because a lot of times I have no freaking clue. And I don't cheat like Dan Lawless does and like pre-draw. So
it's not like you're calling anybody out.
no,
I do look at these are look at the size of these little sketches. I thought I'm going to work out this pose. Okay, that's what I do. There's nothing
okay,
here.
so the size of it is the issue.
it's just
That's fair. It's the tiniest little thing here.
I don't know.
I don't
Randy
consider
Howell
cheating, though.
sharing as he likes to do. Thanks, Randy. Says no trash here. Ethan Van Sciver and David Williams' fearsome comic, and he's sharing the link.
I'm glad you brought that up because we should take a moment and just let everybody know what's going on in our publishing lives. Let me do this real quick. Dan's always saying we got to advertise more. And I don't do it, but that reminded me that I probably should do it. And so let's see what happens here when I do it.
Commercial time.
Yeah, a little commercial break. I've got a book called Wraith of God 3 Fear Hollow. It's Wraith and Esther face off against the Headless Horsemen.
Melon heads.
The Melon Heads of Pennsylvania. It's
Face off again. I love it.
So anyway, there's four cover options. I'm more than halfway done with the book at this point, so hang in there, guys. We're getting it. And there's some cover options, and I won't drag on too long. But the link is in the description of this video that will take you right to this campaign if you would like to back it. It is the scariest Wraith yet. I will say that. So anyway, you want to check that out if you don't mind. And then of course we were talking just about David's work on Fearsome. And let me see if I can bring that up. I am sort of prepared. There it is. So this is Ethan Van Sciver's writing, David Williams drawing pictures, and there's David's cover. Very cool. Interesting thing about this, Jason Wright is coloring both Fearsome and Wraith of God 3. How about that? There's an EVS cover. That's Shane Davis, I think. And then look at, we got some nice David Williams art there. Some more colored work there.
Work that is in color.
Yeah, this is in living.
It sounded
color.
like you said colored.
Oh, like colored people? Yeah, there's colored people in this book. So anyway, you find a link in the description of this video. Take you right there if you want to back this book. That's 2 issues, actually, David. And I think David's got about 13, 14 pages left to go.
Yeah.
So he's not that far from being done on this. So get out there and back that. Of course, Dan Lawless recently did a what do we call it? A cover, but would it be a an alternate cover or just for?
Well, actually, probably the last thing I showed you guys was the Yes, well, I did an alternate cover for this guy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Silence Do Good. I thought that was the most recent thing you wanted to promote.
Sure, absolutely.
There it is, right there.
There
Look
it
at
is.
that.
There it is. Yes.
That's a great cover. I love that.
Yeah, it is.
So
Yep.
Thanks,
that's a young
Ben Franklin, young
Ben Franklin.
and
who's
the evil sort of AI computer guy. He's stealing people from the past, and he took Ben Franklin and tried to put him in the computer as a person, and these two rebels here on this woman.
Though that the actual Ben Franklin actually looked when he was young the way he did when he was old.
Well, if this was a DC comic, we'd have the fat Ben Franklin on the cover.
Yeah.
But this is
Yes,
the
that's the young
youthful
Ben
and
Franklin
healthy Ben Franklin. So anyway, this is called Silence Do Good. It is on Indiegogo, and you can go there and back that Dan Lawless cover. You'll find a link in the description of this video. You can. I don't have any visuals for Gary, but he does have. There's a link for Gary's book, Brush with Destiny. Take you right there. You can order a copy of that fabulous book. Do you have one laying around there, Gary, close to you?
I do.
Excellent. Let me, there it is. Lots of good stuff in there. You can order this book right now. Now, Gary, you'll sign this, won't you, if they buy it?
Yep.
Oh, Gina Carano. Look at that. Now, did you put the Gina Carano in there instead of Bruce Lee as it was?
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I just want to make people
I'm
know
still
what.
kidding. Well, update on that whole Bruce Lee situation. I am working. I will be working on another Bruce Lee piece because I wasn't really happy with the original one.
So is this a commission or is it just
no?
I do
Just
this right?
yeah, just to get it, off my conscience.
What was the deal with the Bruce Lee piece?
I originally slated Bruce to be in the book, and then I did the Gina piece, and then because of the page count limitations, I snubbed Bruce and put Gina in instead. And boy, did I hear it from a lot of people. How dare you?
Yeah, the disrespect for Bruce Lee, that was really what got me. I was just like, man.
So to hopefully that will, I think the composition that I'm going to be doing will be better than the first one I did. And that's my goal, is to make a better one. So that's coming, I don't know when, but it is on my things to do list.
On your docket.
Yep.
All right. Well, and I'm sure that we'll see it here first when you get around to doing it. So.
Yep. I absolutely will show it on this first.
I had somebody ask me when we were doing another garage sale.
Really?
Which I thought was it was just one guy. That doesn't mean that
okay.
it's not like 40 people are like, yeah, do another garage sale. But
well, I've got lots of stuff, so if you ever want to, I'm not short of inventory.
I billed it as the first annual garage sale, so I thought we'll do it once a year, but maybe twice a year might be a better idea. It's good way for people to get cheap Christmas gifts. Maybe we should do it November or something. Okay. So, are you currently commissioning something, Gary, or are you waiting for someone to give you a call about commissioning?
I'm always waiting by the phone.
You're not supposed to sound desperate.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Now the artist needing money. There you have it. That's
I've got I'm working on one big commission, and when I finish that, I'm going to start working on something I've been promising for a while.
Promising meaning
actual comic book.
Oh,
What I'm working on right now is that I'm working on a commission that's an 8-page Robert Crumb story. So I'm doing all eight pages.
Thing?
Yeah, and it's like the only Robert Crumb story I've ever seen that isn't weird. I mean, it's a little weird, but it's not like Robert Crumb weird.
Did you see the documentary Crumb?
Yes, I did.
That was something else, man.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So when I finish the story, I think I have three. It's 8 pages. I have three pages to go. When I finish it, I will show it on the show.
Now, how do you guys balance? Because I know David's doing some commissions as well, and Dan, I don't know. You've got your commercial art career that's always keeping you busy. But when you guys are working on commissions, and then at the same time trying to get a book done, how do you balance your time? I mean, do you have certain days that are okay? This is a commission day, or do you just say I'm going to certain hours a day I'm working on my book, certain hours a day, then I'm going to spend 2 hours on commissions or something like that? I mean, how do you manage your time?
It usually happens like that, and then those plans get derailed by reality.
Right. I hear you.
Trials of life always want to bump in the way of you trying to be faithful to everybody at the same time.
Yeah. Gary?
I usually do one or the other. If I'm working on published stuff, I don't do commissions. If I don't have any published stuff, that's all I do is commissions.
Well, but you have a book you want to do, right? And so at some point, don't you have to say, okay, I'm going to start balancing these, or
well, yeah, for me, it's all about cash flow.
Well,
so if I'm working on a book, my own story or whatever, that money's not going to come in right away.
Right.
Show me the money.
Yeah. So the commissions is what I have to, pepper through it.
But
to pay my bills, and that's what determines for me. I don't set a set schedule like you're talking about, 2 days on the commissions and then 2 days on I don't do it like that.
How do you know that you're far enough ahead?
Well, I know what my budget is for a month, how much money I need to bring in every month.
So
and then once that money comes in, then I spend the rest of the time goofing off.
You mean working on working
on the comic.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure I told at some point about Burke Breathed, who did Bloom County. I don't think he's still doing it. But I read this thing, and this was when I was in high school, I think. And you're always, when you're a young artist trying to figure out, what do you want to do, and how do other people do it, and all that kind of stuff. You sit there and read everything you can about professional artists and what, their stories are. And I remember reading this article on him that was really interesting, because he'd say that he would basically take 1 week out of the month. Well, he'd take the first three. See, I'd do it just the opposite, but he was like an irresponsible kid. He would take the first 3 weeks of every month and just screw around, and do his adventure things. And he was like really into just skydiving and just, pushing the envelope and doing things and experiencing new things. And then he'd get to that last week of the month, and he would buckle down and do an entire month's worth of daily strips and the Sunday strips within that 7 days, and then turn those in. And then the next month would come and he'd spend 3 weeks screwing around, and then he would do I would do the first week. I'd get it done first, and then I'd
Yeah.
screw around, right?
Yeah, 'cause how can you enjoy with those,
Right.
deadlines looming?
Well, and he said that there was times where he would buy a plane ticket to New York or wherever the syndicate was, and he'd be sitting on the airplane doing the last strip, so that by the time he landed and he was delivering the strips to the publisher or the syndicate, which I thought, man, that is freaking crazy.
Yeah.
I've done that where I had to turn pages into my editor at San Diego Con, and I was drawing on the plane.
I did. Shelley and Shelley was filling in blacks for me on a story that I made in a Denny's Sunday after the San Diego show.
Wow.
So I could get it in the FedEx box and sent off before we went back home. So that
Arrington, I'm not sure who you're asking this. It says, what would you charge to ink the, oh shit, I can't even pronounce that.
Mona Lisa.
Yakuza Fire. Oh, I'm sorry, it's scrolling. It's hard to read chats when it's moving.
Who's it from?
Rand Arrington.
Yeah.
And
Rand says, what would you charge to ink Yakuza Pyre Illo I did, since you won't do the rhinos? You're speaking a language I am not familiar with, Rand.
here we go. Rand says, so what would you charge to ink the Yakuza Pare illustration I did, since you won't do the rhinos? I still don't know what that means.
And who are you addressing this to?
Gary.
It has to be you.
Well, I don't know what he's even referring to.
Yakuza Pare. That's got to be some sort of anime thing, right?
I don't know.
David.
Didn't he send you something? Didn't he send you something before, Gary?
Possibly.
He's referring to something that he sent to you.
Rich Ware says Yakuza equals vampire. Rand Anderson's like, he says ha, and then he says nope, and then he says yes, and then he says ha. So I still don't know what any of this means. Okay, so he says yes, it's Yakuza equals vampire. So did somebody send you a vampire drawing?
I don't recall.
And why would he send you a drawing of rhinos?
I don't know. Are you talking about rhinoceros, or is a rhino short for something else?
I don't think it's like
Conversation is crazy.
name only. I think it means rhinos. I would think he means like rhino.
Okay, so some of the chat, Sean Allen is stumped too. So Rand is now he's evil laughing. He's been evil laughing through the whole show.
Well, he's very confusing with his language sometimes. Well, he's not the only one. This show, people in this show are, quite frankly, in the chat, are illiterate. I mean, they just we don't know what you guys are. Who is the other? You guys, we don't know what you're saying half the time. We try. We're really trying, but English is the first language on this show.
And plus, Aaron has pointed out, reading is not one of my strengths. So
that's right. Gary can't read to begin with.
Aaron just turned into Jules from Pulp Fiction. Well, Pulp Fiction. English, mother. Do you speak it?
By the way.
Are you strangling a cat or something? What is that?
He's choking a chicken.
The chicken.
Oh, Stealth X5 for $2 says watermelon, cheeseburger, fries, hot dog, shrimp. I'm going to make some shrimp tonight. See, there's always something in there that I don't know what it is.
That made me hungry. As
Is
soon
that
as he
a
said
taco?
Watermelon, I was like, what?
There's a salad in there.
Looks like is that a salad?
Yeah, and then a beer, but I don't know what's between the shrimp and the salad.
I can't tell. They look like, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Sounds like a beginning of a joke. What's between a shrimp and a salad?
Remember we figured this out one time that Stealth was sending us code but I don't know if this makes
Mhm.
any sense or not.
Stealth.
Glitch
Oh,
is
they're
saying
saying it's sushi. Glitch just says it's sushi. Caleb Reynolds is here. Hail the chat. Thanks for hail the panel and hail the chat. Thanks for joining us. Apparently, I offended Eric Boyd. He says, "Wow, Aaron, unsubscribed." You know,
Okay, what? In the
Look.
list of things that could have offended you,
Me calling you illiterate? Oh,
well, the illiterate line.
yeah. Let's take a moment. If you want to be offended, let's take a moment and see what's bugging Gary today. And a little segment we like to call "What's Gary's
Gary.
What's Gary's beef?
What is your beef, Gary?"
I was
Sounds like
thinking
you're-
about this like the night before Wednesday. I was like, I have to think about something to complain about for tomorrow. And I recall a story of something that happened to me when I was in college. So my beef this week is graveyard shift at 7-Eleven.
Oh,
Sounds good. That sounds like a good story.
So I got a job working graveyard shift at 7-Eleven. My shift started at midnight and it went to 8 o'clock in the morning. And at that time, you get the interesting folk as customers.
Mm-hmm.
There were some that were actually interesting. There was a lady that would come in. She owned a bar down the street, and she would always stop by after she closed her bar, like around 3 o'clock in the morning, to get whatever supplies before she went home. So I kind of got to know her. She was a regular. But there's always these, oddballs that come in that you kind of have to keep your eye on. So I was working the weekend shift. So Friday night, this guy comes in wearing a hoodie. He walks to the cooler, comes back, puts a 6-pack of beer down, and then just kind of stands there and looks at me. And usually, people are reaching for their wallets. This guy's just standing there looking at me. So I'm looking back at him. And he lunges forward and tries to grab my collar. And I jerk back, my basketball reflexes kicked in. And he wasn't able to grab my collar, but he still pulled out this, butcher knife that was formidable looking and said, "Okay, give me the money in the cash register." And I was thinking, if I had a baseball bat back here, I could just, reach down and just, clunk him on the bean and then call the police.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a baseball bat back there. So I opened the cash register and handed him the money. He takes his 6-pack of beer and legs it out the door. And before he leaves, he thanks me like a regular customer would.
Thank you. Come again.
I have to expect, people like that at the graveyard shift on, a weekend. The very next night, around 2 o'clock in the morning, these two guys come in, and they're not, 7-Eleven, people know what they want. You go in, get your chips or Slurpee or whatever, and, you pay and you leave. It's all about speed at 7-Eleven. These guys were browsing.
At 2 a.m.
Yeah. And they were just kind of walking around, they'd pick something up and then they'd look at it and put it down. And it's like, okay, these guys are up to no good. They're just getting up the nerve to do whatever they're thinking about doing. And they kind of make their way up to the counter, and I go, I'm thinking, okay, here it goes. Boy, I wish I would have brought my baseball bat. The guy pulls out this. It was probably like a 357 Magnum. It was big. It was nickel, so it was shiny, like a Dirty Harry model, only shiny. But it was long barreled, 6-inch barrel, so it was a big gun. All right, give us all your money. So I empty the cash register. I'd just done it the night before, so I was experienced in emptying the cash register.
Is that part of job description?
No,
They
didn't cover this in the training. Didn't cover this in the training. So I give them the money, and then the guy says, "Okay, now empty the floor safe." And somehow he knew that 7-Elevens have a floor safe, and it has like this little slot. Like if too much cash builds up in the cash register, you can stuff money in the slot. But to open it, you need the combination. And I'd only been working there about a month, so they had not informed me of the combination yet. So now I realize that I'm going to have to try to convince these clowns that I don't know the combination. And of course, they don't believe me when I'm telling them, I don't know the combination. Yeah, sure, buddy. So after this, we're going around and around. The guy with the gun says, okay, let's take a walk to the back. I go, great. So we go into the back room. These guys were, less than average height, I would say. So, they're like 5'6", 5'7". And back then I was 6'4". I'm a little shorter now, but
age does that.
Yeah. And so the guy puts the gun on my chest, and he's, has to point it up, cocks it, and says, what's the combination to the safe? So I'm thinking, this is not like the movies. I'm surprisingly calm. In the movies, I would be, weeping and begging for my life at this point. That didn't even occur to me. I just thought, okay, well, that's it. And the only thing that I could think of was, well, if the guy's going to pull the trigger, all I have time left to do is get one little prayer in. And the only thing I can think of was,
covered.
God, just make it quick, so I'm not in pain. I'm not lying there in a pool of my own blood. I'm actually thinking this while the guy has this gun cocked on my chest. And so I finally get this thought out of my head. I do my prayer. And I think maybe the guy's expecting me to, break down and start weeping. And I just said, hey, man, I don't know the combination to the safe. So the guy looks frustrated and flustered. And so we go back out, and he does more posturing and all this stuff. And he keeps asking me the combination, and I keep telling him I don't know it. So I finally say, hey, look, I just work here. I'm not an owner. This isn't my money. This is just a job to me. If I knew the combination, I would tell you. And I said, in fact, I could help you load up your car with anything you want. I said, you are the boss now. You're in charge. If you want to load your car up with cases of beer, I will help you do that. But I can't give you any more money because I don't know the combination. And when I said you're the boss, he kind of lit up, and he liked that idea. And so the guy without the gun, he starts strutting around saying, yeah, we're the boss. And so he says, what's the best beer you have? This was 7-Eleven. And so I said, Michelob. And he says, okay, help us load up cases of Michelob in our car. And I was like, all right. So we went in the cooler and, everyone grabbed a case of Michelob, and we go outside. I put it in the back of their car. And of course, I'm noting the license plate number as I'm doing it.
So these guys are not geniuses, is what you're telling me.
And so they go back in the store, and they're actually shopping. They're like, they were like Michael Jackson. I want that. I want that. I want that.
These guys not like, thinking, what if someone walks in right now?
I don't know, but they were in there. They were in there for at least 20 minutes doing all this.
Now, did they have cameras back then?
No.
Okay.
So they're helping themselves to cigarettes and candy and of course, like I said, beer. There was this promotion for a Polaroid camera. Then they actually had a camera as part of the display. They take that camera down and give it to us. So it's 7-Eleven. What are they?
Right.
So they load up with all this crap, and then but they acting like they're robbing Fort Knox. And so they I guess they're satisfied they got enough stuff, and even though they didn't get the money that was in the safe, they leave. And so as I'm on the phone with the police, the woman who comes in every night that owned the bar, oh, what's going on? Well, I got robbed again. And so the police come, and I give them my report and all this stuff. And apparently they caught them that night because they were like, because I gave them the description of their car, their license plate number, the stuff they stole. And I guess the guys were like drunk on the side of the road, and there were Michelob bottles all over.
Oh, man.
So they didn't get very far. The owners told me, well, I was going to quit, and because like 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
And
Really?
they're like, oh no, this is a good neighborhood. You have to get back on the horse. That's what they told me that. They had me working during the day, and I realized that I needed to quit when this like older lady had put her purse on the counter. She was about to pay for something, and she reached in her purse quickly, like in a sudden motion, and that startled me, and it made me jump. Just her reaching, this old lady reaching in her purse made me jump. So
Well, how many times do you get robbed?
that's the day. Well, 2 nights in a row.
Well, besides that, any more than that?
That's when I quit. Is like, so I absolutely do not recommend going into 7-Eleven after midnight. The end.
Yeah,
You
well,
know-
now if you're working with the
What you reaching for, old bitch?
Exactly.
It's funny because that's sort of a cliche, but it's true. I mean, that you work in one of those places at night, you're going to get robbed.
Well, I had a friend who got me the job. He worked during the day, and I came back and visited him, and the phone rang while I was talking to him. The store phone rang, and he picked it up and answered it. Hello, stop and rob.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he didn't last at that job very long.
Well,
Yeah, right.
did the owners of this, or was it something they expected? You're going to get robbed. So I mean, were you?
No, they didn't even mention it. That it's a possibility. That's like, you remember? I think I brought this up. This was in the late 70s. That they had like really interesting magazines on their magazine rack. There was one magazine that was called Heads You Lose. And it was just photographs of like gruesome photos of beheadings.
Oh my goodness.
That's what you could actually buy a photo magazine of headless corpses.
Yikes.
That is
And that's the
crazy.
title. Heads You Lose.
Oh man.
That's the good old days. Katie Did is in the chat. She's got a long comment. Aaron, you want to do the honors?
Well, I'm kind of afraid here, but I'll. Katie, thanks for joining us. Says, "Hey, Graybeards, you know what's my beef? Having someone come in 5 minutes before close and say, 'I know you're closing, but do you have time for a cut?' And the head salon lady put them in my chair, so I'm late. I hope they tipped well, Katie. But thanks for joining us. So here's the thing. It wasn't too long ago, like a month ago, fire alarm started chirping, and it never happens during the day. It's always in the middle of the night, right?
Yeah,
And so it was like, I don't know, 3 a.m. and it's like, oh my gosh, it's driving me crazy. I got to go get a battery. So I drove down to our local Walgreens, and they were closed now. They used to be 24 hours, but they're not. And then I saw to the corner of my eye across the street was a 7-Eleven. And I went, they're open. And so I went in there at 3 a.m., bought a battery, joked around with the gal that was, run behind the cash register a little bit. And then I pulled a knife on her and I said, I ain't paying for this battery. And, that didn't happen. But I sat there and I got to tell you, Gary, the second I drove up there, I was thinking, I got to get in and out of here before someone comes in and robs this place. Because I do not want to be here when, there's the first thing that came into my mind. And you're just like justifying that sort of feeling.
Well, it was definitely a sketchy crowd at that,
where was this at? Northern California?
Santa Clara, California.
Is Stockton still like, don't go to Stockton, or is it better?
Yeah, Stockton's pretty rough.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I know somebody that lives there. It's they have good neighborhoods, but they have just like any other town, there's some sketchy neighborhoods.
Yeah, I remember that being when we were 18. A friend of mine and I drove down to LA because we were going to go to Disneyland, and we were, for the first time, I'd never been, and it's kind of like we just graduated and we're like, yeah, let's do this, it'll be fun, and we road trip down there and everything. But I still remember, I don't know who told me, he's like, don't stop in Stockton. Okay.
Well, I was there a couple of years ago, and it was surprisingly rough.
Well, it's and the thing about Phoenix is like, if you ever spent any time in like downtown, or not downtown, but like central Los Angeles, that's what Phoenix, where my daughter was going to college, it's like it was just like when USC is like the worst part of town you could be in, right? And that's what she was. And Phoenix was like little LA, and it was like, and when you're a college kid, you never think, well, I'm not going to go outside at 2 a.m. There's that, ice cream place is still open. Let's go. And you're like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, do not do it.
But I did that.
I mean, I had a friend who was living in a dorm when he was going to San Jose State, and the neighborhood where those dorms were was like that. We had a couple of times like visiting him on his porch to the dorm. Hobos like to hang out, and one time we had to step over a guy that kept saying, I swear to God, I just saw pink snow. Pink snow. He kept repeating, pink snow. It's like, okay, dude, whatever.
Probably did.
Yeah, probably did.
My funniest story was because we used to we have to sign up for like editing time when I was in film school, but like it was every Thursday they would have like sign up day, right? And guys would literally get out there at 9 a.m. and like literally camp out to be the first to sign up so you get the best times in the editing room, right? Well, we were all like, and when I say we, I mean a couple of my friends were kind of like, we're not waiting in line for this. So we'd always go in after everybody had already signed up. And so we'd get the, everybody would try and get like in that from 9 to 5. We would get the like 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. time slots, or the 3 to 8 time slot, you know? And so I was living off campus at USC by a couple blocks, 3 blocks off campus. And I would walk in the 3 a.m. like an idiot. Thankfully, nothing ever happened to me, but it was like, one time I was living in this house. It was like a co-op house. And it was literally 3 blocks from campus. And this guy is banging on the door. And this was like early evening or something. And he's like, my car's on fire. My car's on fire. And I'm like, yeah, sure it is. You know, because we had like a screen door or something. And I kept it locked. And I was like, yeah, sure it is. And he's like, no. I'm not kidding. My car's on fire. And I said, get off the porch, walk down the steps, and get away from the door. And so he did. I opened the screen door and I looked around the corner, and sure enough, his car was it was like a bonfire, man.
Wow. What did he expect you to do?
I don't know. I said, dude, I don't know what you want me to do about it, but that's a bummer. And by the time we had finished our conversation, the police, the fire department wasn't that far away and was there with this car. It's like
Henry Jeremick's asking what kind of car were the robbers driving. Model T. Very funny. It was like an old beat up Pinto, something like that. And it's like that late at night. How many times I had to try to talk people out of buying the hot dogs that were, you know, like on the 7-Eleven hot dog grill. And those dogs had been on there all day, so they're all shriveled up. I was like, "Are you sure you want?" You know, that's the point. I was like, "Okay, you get, you know, full disclaimer, you get a good look at them." Sure. I was like, "All righty."
Well, you know, it's funny. When we were traveling to Phoenix, we would stop, you know, at gas stations and get snacks or whatever. And I remember we would go in, usually like we'd start at, I don't know, 10:30 in the morning, whatever. And then, you know, get around noon and you're like, I'm kind of hungry. Let's stop and get some snacks. And I always looked at the rotisserie and I'm like, those are probably I didn't get anything, but I thought about it because I thought those are probably relatively fresh at this point. You know, it's at 8 o'clock at night. You probably don't want to buy that stuff, but
after like 3 in the afternoon, that's the cutoff. But you know, 3 o'clock in the morning, no.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Imagine. So when I was living in this same co-op, second year at USC, I think it was it might have been my first. It doesn't matter. But anyway, some girl that lived there. There was a bunch of us that lived in this house, right? And one of them was a ROTC Marine guy, right? And so we were sitting there watching TV or something, and this girl that lives there comes running in. She goes, there's two guys out there breaking into so-and-so's car. And so the Marine like jumps up like, let's go.
Of course he does.
And I'm like the only dude there. I'm like, all right. You know, so I'm following him out. We're running out there. And there's these 2 guys. Now, seriously, the car was parked along the sidewalk there. The window was broke out, right? There's glass all over the pavement. And these 2 guys are sitting there, standing near the car, kind of looking up the sky like, doo-doo-doo. And we're like, dude, obviously it's you. You know, who are you? And so I just yelled to the girl, I go, are these the guys? And she goes, yeah. And they took off running. One guy went across the street, and I think it was Figueroa, and there's like 4 lanes, and it's always busy. Almost got hit, right? The Marine goes after him. The other guy takes off down the street, so I run after him. He turns into an alley. I turn in after him, and I'm like, after about 4 steps into the alley, I'm like, what am I doing? And
it didn't occur to you. It didn't occur to you while you were running. It's like, okay, what's going to happen if I actually catch up to him?
No, but when I turned into the alley, I was like, yeah, no. That's when it dawned on me. And I was like, I don't like the way this is shaping up. And
officer, I was hot on his trail until he turned down the alley of doom, and then I
figured if I was on the street, what's he gonna? People are gonna see, and it's like maybe I've got a shot at this, but like you go into that alley and you're like, I think this is
You're thinking, boy, what a great story this is going to be.
It sounds like a comic book story. Yeah.
Well, no, seriously, because you sit there when you gather your wits, you're like, what am I going to do if I catch this guy?
Right.
I mean,
you start rehearsing your moves.
Yeah, it's like, it's like even if you get into a fight with him and you win the fight, then what are you going to do?
Right.
You're going to
drag him back.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, what am I doing?
Cloak him on the head and grab his collar and drag him back to the scene.
Now, I saw this move on Starsky and Hutch.
I'll show this guy.
Yeah, I remember when Mannix jumped on the fence.
Mannix. Oh, I remember that show.
And Dino Palacchio says,
Palazzo.
I'm here. Where's John Burnett? Boy, do you have the wrong show.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. David has been working hard behind the scenes to get us some guests. And what happens is they all tell him yes, and then I contact them, and then they back out.
They said, what? You're on the show?
Yeah, but someone, I'm not going to say who, someone contacted him about coming on the show. So I feel pretty confident that he will be on the show. But we're shooting for, was it May 14th, David?
Yep.
So pretty big name too.
That's just in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was really surprised, but I've got to reach out to him. And I know
2 weeks from now, right?
Yeah, I know him well, so I don't assume he's going to back out, but we shall see.
Okay.
Very talented guy.
Yes. People are always asking me, why don't you get more guests on the show? And I'm like, why don't you get more guests on the show? Nobody will come on the show.
Yeah. Ask them. If you know anybody, ask them. Because sometimes a fan can help push that a little bit. Yeah.
That's true. That works with comic conventions as well.
Yeah. So this looks like a sure thing. And then working on somebody else as well that I might be able to someone else I know really well a big name though, that I would be able possibly to coerce to come on. So we'll see how it works out. But keep your fingers.
Rich Ware says, so glad David is back. So Aaron, you gonna take that as an insult?
If Katie said it, yes. But I'm going to assume that, like all of us, we're just glad to have. I am glad David's back because it raises the level of art on this show, and that's what quality that we're going for. Dan, it's just that
you realize that is an insult.
Well, yeah, I suppose it is, but I meant the overall, not the quality's bad.
Okay, save it now.
No, the overall quality. The overall quality of the show.
You're digging deeper, dude.
No. I'm part of the show too, so it's an insult to me as much as it is to you.
Well, insult yourself in your own time.
I would just say that. Yeah, of course, you are sort of the third wheel and everything, Dan. But so but.
I'm the permanent replacement.
He's Aaron. He's the fourth wheel.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about you, Gary.
Yeah, I'm the third wheel.
Yeah, your contribution to the show is so epic. I don't know how I could possibly forgot that.
That's right.
But no, Dan, you're very talented and bring quite a great addition to the show. And I want you to. I hope Katie's listening because that's how you actually talk to people, Katie, and be nice to people.
Wow. Hold on a second. This is appropriate. Ozhead, I'm not familiar with you, Oz. Welcome. Says another fine episode of Grumpy Beards.
I'll tell you, if I had any delusions, not illusions, but delusions that I was not a grumpy old man, they went away on this road trip.
That was confirmed.
Yeah, I was like, I confirmed Aaron Lopresti, grumpy old. So I'm just I'm overjoyed. You can't really tell, but I'm overjoyed.
Do you have anything like Sirius satellite or anything like that?
What's that?
Just something for you to listen to in your car.
No,
like
Shelly couldn't drive because of her back, but she was like in charge of all the audio programming while we were driving. So she would like hook up her iPad to like different podcasts and things, and we'd listen.
Well, see, that sounds like fun. Like, I mean, I could do that,
There was this interesting murder mystery one where this dude, he gets married to this girl and murders her on their honeymoon. It's like, how could you be that pissed off at your wife after like a week that you'd kill her?
Well, he had to have been planning that for a while.
I don't know, because he was they seem to be happy and all this kind of garbage, right? And they go on this cruise.
all that honeymoon garbage.
All that bullshit.
So they're seriously, wow. No, they're both
Aaron, the romantic.
Yeah, well, grumpy old man confirmed. So they go on this cruise, and they're both kind of like fitness buffs, right? And so he apparently gets in a fight with her over dinner because she's eating too many desserts. And I'm like, if the chick's a fitness buff, that's why you're a fitness buff, so you can eat chocolate.
Right, exactly.
Right?
So you can eat, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, that, but this was a noticeable fight that everybody witnessed, right?
So they were loud.
So you're gonna kill your wife because she ate too many desserts?
Food choices.
Yeah, and so he goes back to their room, and I guess they fight a little bit more, but then they make up and they say, okay, well, let's go for a run on the track. And this was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So they go out and run the track, and then lo and behold, the girl disappears. And so they question the dude, and he's like, tells them that, well, she was, running, and the wind blew her over the rail, right? And I tried to save her, but I couldn't haul her back in. He said, as I was pulling her up, the wind blew again and knocked me back against this electrical panel board thing on the, and it's because he had like cuts on his face, right? And so they did this investigation while the ship is still at sea, right? They're like, yeah, those look like fingernail scratches, not, And so the Coast Guard finds the girl's body, and this is still before the ship has come in, and she had her engagement ring on, and they matched perfectly the cuts on the dude's face, right?
Wow.
So they're questioning him, and then he changes his story and says there's these Ukrainians that were hunting me down, because he says he was in Ukraine, and he was a chiropractor, and he was in Ukraine, and some Ukrainian mob family wanted him to marry their daughter, and he refused to. So they put him in an insane asylum for like 3 months, and he escaped, and then wrote this book about it, I guess. And so he's telling him all this stuff. And so he says there's 2 Ukrainians on this ship, and they're the ones who killed her because they wanted revenge against me for this book I wrote. Right? This is the guy's story, right? And they're like, I thought you said the wind blew her over the side. Now it's 2 Ukrainians killed her, and they checked the wind, and it was like at 5 knots. So like there wasn't any wind to blow anybody overboard. So he changes to the Ukrainian story, and they're kind of like, well, why didn't you just tell us that to begin with? So they question these 2 Ukrainian guys who were on the ship. They're wedding photographers. They were there to cover a wedding.
Oh man.
So this goes to trial, and the guy sticks with that, even though they've proven that these 2 Ukrainians were wedding photographers. And of course, the guy gets convicted and goes to jail, claiming his innocence, all because his wife ate too many desserts on their honeymoon. So he killed her. There was like no money involved. It's just like, are you serious? You can't come up with a better reason than that?
It's like, how could the, wind blow her over if she ate too many desserts?
Exactly. That's what would be my reaction.
That's the flaw in his story. Oh, John Beatty's in the chat. Aaron, you want to read his comment?
I don't know if I do or not.
Oh, you do. You do.
Yeah,
Oh.
I was wondering where he was.
Has Gary had a beef today? If not, maybe it could be Aaron's long, boring story. Oh my gosh, John. Appreciate your appearance.
That was a pretty good story, I thought, man.
Well, it's just, I mean, they were, and you know how they do podcasts, they like dramatize stuff that maybe isn't all that really that interesting. They try to make it more interesting, but it was like they had already said that the marks on his face were consistent with her engagement ring. And it's like, and yet they go, we better look into this Ukrainian thing.
Well, they just want to, cover their bases there.
I guess, but that was the thing that was most amazing to me was I just don't know how you could be that disappointed with your wife after 1 week that you'd want to.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot more going on than that.
Apparently.
That usually those things that's just a straw that broke a camel's back.
She just ate one too many eclairs.
If you eat one more, go ahead, do it.
Yeah, I dare you. See what happens. Oh. So anyway, that was one of the podcasts we listened to. Very interesting.
So, Aaron,
yeah,
could you tell us a single thing that you enjoyed about that trip?
Getting to see my daughter graduate was very exciting.
No, I mean the driving.
No.
Wow. How many hours again was it? How many hours were we talking about here again?
About 20 hours, give or take, all time considered. Now, when we were coming back, once we got into Oregon, I was like, we're not stopping. We're going all the way. So we drove 11 hours from Phoenix to Fresno the first night coming back. And then from Fresno all the way basically to Portland. And because we got into Medford at about 5 o'clock, and I was like, well, we still got,
That's
3 hours of daylight.
About 4 hour drive.
Yeah. And you're like, yeah, 3 hours of daylight, and we're going for it, But I was white knuckling most of the time because there's so many freaking semis. And they're just swerving all over the place, right?
Especially,
Every time you
Southern Oregon, when you're going, like over the pass,
the mountains,
that's where all the semis are like driving like maniacs.
Yeah, and you're
how was the weather?
Well, the weather was nice, but it was like there was a lot of high winds at different points, and these semis are just look like they're going to swerve into you,
Yeah.
I was just like white knuckling the whole time, so I was like. My shoulders were hurting. It was a grumpy experience. But for the sake of my lovely
Which is pretty much the white knuckling what you do when you draw on Graybeards.
It is. I am constantly living in fear of John Beatty's next comment.
John's
being hit from every direction, Aaron.
Aaron, it's time for me to inquire. What's the time situation?
Well, I'm doing quite well, Gary. David, how are we doing over there? When I say we, I mean
finishing this. I'll finish this at a later date.
Okay. Well, what time is it? Oh, let's give me another 3 minutes, and then I'll call it. I'll do a little bit more, John Beatty line work.
Looks like Dan is finished.
Oh, I'm done. Yeah. Switch my camera back. I can go to recess.
He drew the flash, man, and that's fast.
Exactly. That was very speedy, yes. Spirit of Flash was in me.
You embodied the character.
Exactly. I was actually, you guys were talking really slow, and I'm like drawn. It's supersonic speed.
Let's speed this up.
That's why Aaron's story was so long.
John says, WTF, if he didn't talk for 45 minutes, he would be done.
John, I got a show to host. I have responsibilities to the people.
Pity Ma, she wants to see the pup, Dan.
Oh, the puppy, yeah. Hey, buddy.
All right, I'll go ahead and sign this since I'm feeling the pressure.
Sully, hey, say hi to. How you doing, guys? Everybody drawing comics?
Sully, isn't that the guy that flew the plane upside down or whatever?
No, they're probably thinking of Monsters Incorporated, the character.
Oh,
That's my guess, anyways. I can only guess.
hey, do me a favor, you guys in the chat, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like and subscribe button. We appreciate it. It helps this channel grow despite the negativity that John Beatty brings to it. Every single day.
So, John, every time you enter the chat, the air leaves the room. It's sucked right out.
Yeah, well, he could come on the show. If he's going to talk that much trash, he should come on the show. That's the thing. Oh, we have got no bad jokes from Sequential Artist, and he's waiting till the last minute for $20. Thank you so much.
Yes.
He goes, I missed everything today. Sorry. I'll catch the replay. Thanks for the entertainment. See that, John Beatty entertainment? Meanwhile, here are the punchlines I had planned. They were too corny, jumper cables, and Sasquatch.
Watch. Ooh, that's a good one. Very on theme.
Yeah. That's the best I can give him on that. But thank you, Sequential. We appreciate
That almost
that.
is a joke in itself. Like, you got just the word is it kind of.
It
fills
is.
the
Look
middle.
at you go.
John says that he could come on the show and be another old guy like Gary and just talk.
Well, I'd rather see your face when you're insulting me than you throwing knives
insult me
at
to
me
your
from the
face.
chat.
Yeah, so John, if
Insult
that's
me.
all you want to do, you're still invited.
Yeah, you can come on, John, if you just want to chat. We'll ask you all kinds of questions about your career and fun stuff like that.
That'd be great.
John, if I can get away with not drawing, anybody can.
Gary gets paid not to draw.
Right.
Well, you know, us pencilers do all the work, anyways.
That's right. Gary's just a tracer. Yeah, John Bay's like, career? What career? Okay, so let's take a look at what we've accomplished today. I will begin
Oh,
with the Spectre.
you
Oh,
made
that's
him
good.
dynamic.
I know. It's like David's inspired me to be a little more dynamic and quit being so just matter of fact,
Yeah.
straight on.
You know
That
what he's
is a
saying?
classic X composition, isn't it?
Yeah. You know what he's saying? My pimp hand is strong.
He's reaching for the whatever.
Top shelf.
Yeah.
Jeff Peanut Butter.
From the top shelf.
The peanut butter and the chocolate chip cookies are hidden up there on the.
Yeah. The wife hood him.
I almost got a Spectre story to draw in when I was doing the book Damage for DC, but Bob Harris nixed it. But I
I don't
had
know
talked
much
to my
about the
writer.
Spectre.
Hmm?
I don't know much about the Spectre. I know he's kind of white and green, right?
He hung out, Dan. He hung out with the Flash.
Yeah, so that's probably why you don't know. Rob Vendetti was the writer on it. He's really, really good. And he was like, yeah, okay, we'll do a Spectre story. And he had this really great Spectre story. And I don't know why they nixed it, but we didn't get to do it. But so I still have not drawn the Spectre in an actual comic book. Leg kick for $10. Washington SummerCon just announced Mark Brooks and Fabian Nice to see it. Brooks canceled out last year. Maybe that's why they're not returning my emails. They don't want me and Brooks at the same show. I don't know. Rand Arrington.
You got to be for those guys, or
huh?
You got to be for those guys.
Not Fabian.
I drew a Fabian story once. One of my first stories.
Rand Arrington for 20. Thank you, Rand. Appreciate it, man. He says, great show today. Thanks for the laugh. See that, John? It's comedy gold. All right. So there we go. There's my Spectre. Let's see what David's got going on here. Oh, that's cool. Try that again. Okay, there we go.
Oh, cool.
Ooh.
Man,
Nice.
she needs big wings to carry those around.
Yeah, there you go.
Can't you get off the ground?
Those, Aaron?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. That's very nice.
Yeah, it looks good. It's gonna be a good piece, man.
It's already cool, and you just started inking it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very nice. Skullnester says that Hawk Girl is awesome. Headless Bourgeoisie says, wow. Let's see. Past Master Dan says, I wouldn't knock her.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that's very nice. I'm sure we'll see that finished by the next show, but very good work, David. And Dan, what can you get that? The burst lines and everything.
You'll see that he looks like he's running.
Yeah. Now, Dan, do you ever sit there and go, I got to ink one of these? Or are you just like so adverse to inking that you just would
No,
not?
I actually kind of like inking, but I am adverse to it because I do feel like when I can screw it up, but there's no fixing it. So or really, but
Well, that's the challenge of the Graybeards, though, isn't it? It's kind of like
I should try it. I'll have to do an ink job one of these times.
You got anatomy
Just to show you I can.
so well.
he's got what?
Anatomy down so well.
Mm-hmm. That's a really nice pose.
Really, because I felt like it didn't quite work, but
No,
Neil Adams.
great. I like that.
it'd be interesting to color it. I haven't colored like I've been so busy. I really want to color that Batman that I drew, and but I haven't had a chance to yet. But I really want to color that more than I want to color this actually. But
I love just looking at your Frazetta hands.
Yeah.
And Dan, remind us again, what's the name of this character?
the Flasher. You don't even know who was there.
Is he running
He's trying to catch up to the wizard.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this show. I think I got all the super chats. Indeed, I did. Thank you guys in the chat for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Couldn't do the show without you. That is for certain. Next week is it the 7th? Yeah, I don't know if we'll have anybody next week, but we've got something lined up for 14. Unless John Beatty wants to show up next week
And harass us, yes.
Yeah, we would love to have you, John. Just let me know, and we'll
just think how much more powerful you can just. There's no Gary standing in between you. You can.
That's right. You just could ruthlessly
zinger after zinger, no control.
Reminder for everybody: David Williams has got all those pieces are available, and that rune piece actually someone I think already bought, but he doesn't remember who. So if it's yours, get in touch with him and be honest. Don't lie.
Yeah, if you don't contact David by midnight tonight, he's going to sell it again.
Look at this. Pity Ma says, "Glad you're back, Aaron. Hate when you're off." Thank you so much, Pity Ma. That's how you do it. Katie did. That's how you do it. All right, guys. Landing party is at 5:00 on Graham's channel. We'll be talking about Star Trek, as we always do, with Ron Garney and Star Wars girl who becomes the Star Trek girl. And we're going to do it for tonight. So
she's
thanks,
pretty
everybody.
knowledgeable about the Star Trek stuff as well. It's amazing.
Yes, she is. And it's always good fun because she always disagrees with us. So join us next week, everybody. Right here on Graybeards Studio. Good night.
Corn dogs. Corn dogs. Corn dogs.